Welcome everybody to the M&M podcast.
Hey.
I'm
It's
your.
me with my yo-yo.
I'm.
What?
Quoting Toy Story 2.
Oh, okay.
Fuck.
It's me.
fuck.
That's me. I'm on a yo-yo. I'm Sega Seth.
I'm Brody.
Brody? Is that why you said that? Why did you say it that way?
I don't
I'm
fucking
Vale.
know.
Hi, Valecorn.
So.
I have a weird nickname, so I gotta say it like in a weird way.
B-Rod, why?
So what have you guys been doing? Anything exciting?
Cheese.
Yeah.
It's like nah.
Throwing rocks at the
not
elderly.
really.
It's like,
Throwing rocks at the elderly.
I mean, I don't know. I've just been working.
Yeah, it's that
That's
time
about
of
it.
year for us.
So we can start off on quick wrestling note.
Yeah.
I know Brody hasn't watched Full Gear.
I'm right in the middle of it. I've only gotten like 3 minutes.
I didn't watch anything after the Texas Death Match.
Yeah, I fell asleep. I didn't see most of it, but I caught all up and everything today. The only thing I want to bring up from that match is Hangman Page drinking Swerve's blood.
Oh Jesus!
Really?
He busts him open, and then he lays on the ground and grabs Swerve by, like, the dreads
Oh
or
my
whatever,
God.
and
Oh.
pulls his head and pours his blood into his mouth, and then spits it out like Triple H.
Nice.
So
That's insane.
I've heard that people were saying how it's one of the greatest death matches they've ever seen
Nice.
with those two wrestlers. So yeah, I don't want to say anything else. And the only other thing was this Continental Classic tournament going on.
Mm-hmm.
They've got 4 people announced so far, which are Bryan Danielson, Andrade El Idolo, Mark Briscoe, and Eddie Kingston, which
Yep.
is already sounding like a great
And
tournament.
Eddie Kingston's also putting both his titles on the line whenever he's in a match in that tournament.
Right.
The Jay Lethal and Eddie Kingston match
Yeah.
was good on the
That was
pre-show.
really good.
But yeah, so I guess when we get a little bit more in depth with the pay-per-view, we can talk a little bit more about it next week when Brody and I actually finish it. But
Yeah.
so today's, let's get right into the nitty gritty. So our topic today is top 5 Cartoon Network shows, which Vale had said at the end of the podcast last week. So Cartoon Network, of course, probably
one of the staples of our childhood.
yeah, I would say Cartoon Network is, depending on the time or the year, Cartoon Network was the kid network.
Oh yeah.
Well, yeah. And then when Nickelodeon would do their fucking Nick Day of Play or whatever,
Yeah.
I just be like, yeah, I'm not going outside.
That shit was so stupid.
It's
It
raining.
was just like every year they did it. Like it was
Yeah.
just a screen that said go outside and play, and every year it was fucking raining outside.
Yeah, so
That
guess
is
what?
true.
I,
They
I
did it-
watched Cartoon Network.
Because they put it on in like April when it like rained like every fucking day.
That's true.
It's like what's the point?
Shit, but I mean, I watched obviously Kids WB and Fox Kids and
Yeah.
Disney Afternoon and stuff like that, but Cartoon Network is just
Shout
huge.
Showdown.
Cartoon Network and Nick were like the 2 main channels. I wasn't really into the Kids WB too much. Like the only show I ever caught was Batman the Animated Series.
Yeah.
But
Oh,
that's,
yeah.
that's when it got transferred.
Oh, but shit,
over
that
to-
had Yu-Gi-Oh!
Yeah.
That had fucking... which-
No, not Ninja Turtles.
Didn't it have Mucha Lucha at one
No,
point?
that was
No,
Fox
That
Block.
was- okay,
Yeah.
yeah.
So it was Animaniacs, Batman, Batman Beyond,
Yeah.
Beyond,
Tiny
yeah.
Toons, Pokemon,
Mhm.
like all of those. And then eventually Pokemon went over to 4Kids, but 4Kids had Sonic X.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. The Fox Kids was like X-Men. They Eek the Cat, which I really liked. Power Rangers. And
Yep.
eventually they would play reruns of The Real Ghostbusters, which is one of my favorite shows ever. But yeah, so Cartoon Network, WB shows got ported over to there. So Cartoon Network was responsible for a lot of everybody's childhood. I would say everybody.
yeah.
I've never met somebody that wasn't like super sheltered.
Oh yeah, I mean in our generation and in
Yeah.
our like when we grow up, everyone loves a Cartoon Network
Yeah,
show.
Yeah.
It's,
Like
even now-
SpongeBob and some sort of Cartoon Network show. You hear them thrown out. I mean, not to spoil anything. The Ed, Ed and Eddies, the
Right.
Codename Kids Next Door is the
Yeah.
SpongeBob is Nickelodeon's big jam.
Oh,
No,
but
yeah. That's their flagship show.
outside of like, I would say like, which because it's like when Cartoon Network was beginning to peak, Nickelodeon was kind of starting to decline.
Yeah.
Right.
Because
I mean, I would say 2004 was like Nickelodeon's start to decline.
Yeah, right.
SpongeBob was kind of, it was post movie.
Stalemate.
The
right.
movie came out in what, 04?
Yeah.
Okay,
At
so
that
post.
point, they were in their like. They had either just finished their third season or they were just starting the third season.
Okay,
Right.
so
Which is where I
Third-
stopped
third-
memorizing episodes.
yeah,
Third
right.
season-
There's some good episodes.
Oh,
this
there is
year.
good episodes.
Yeah,
Like there's good new episodes. It just the show's just become really strange.
It's goofy.
Yeah, it's
It's
yeah.
goofy for the sake of being goofy.
stupid. Yeah,
Yeah, it wants to
I
create
can-
new
which,
memes.
which I can appreciate.
Right.
Yeah.
But the last really solid season, I will always say, was the third season.
Right.
Third
So
season had all the best,
Right.
all the best episodes.
right, and but Rugrats was canceled that year, either 2003, 2004. I would watch Nicktoons Network more. They were stopping airing a lot of classic shows. They were more into the what's the bakery Drake and Josh, iCarly.
Yep.
That one. It's the
Oh,
company.
yeah.
Yeah.
That was wasn't
He
was,
said,
wasn't
Yeah, that's what
yeah, I know what
yeah.
you're talking about.
wasn't that just Butch Hartnett's
No.
like
No, it was Dan Schneider's
maybe
thing.
it was Dan Schneider's company.
Yeah, which whatever. But
Dude, they love feet there.
yeah, weirdo, pedo. Ugh.
They have Fat National Feet Day where they make you take pictures of your feet.
Yeah,
and
he
post
would
them on the wall.
invite people to their house and be like, "Yeah, don't have your parents come." Yeah, he's a weirdo. Anyways, that was the start of like the sitcoms. Ned's Declassified. For better or worse, that was what they.
Schneider's Bakery.
Yeah, Schneider's
That was
Bakery.
the-
Well,
that was
there
the
you
name of
go.
the company.
So yeah, but Cartoon Network was kind of like picking up around that time. You were getting all your American animes.
Yeah.
I mean, well, animes were coming over to America more than
We got
ever.
Toonami.
Which is a whole other thing. Adult Swim was picking up.
Correct.
And you have the Warner Brothers and Turner library, Hanna-Barbera library that Turner owns. So they're playing all kinds of stuff.
Speaking of Adult Swim, just to kind of piggyback on that, when does the new season of Aqua Teen start?
My brother told me that they put some episodes on YouTube, but I haven't looked into that too much.
I know it's supposed to be soon.
But yeah, so Cartoon Network has had peaks and valleys too. But we just decided to go into our favorites because they're the ones that stood the test of time that we can watch now as an adult and enjoy.
These are kinds of shows that molded our comedy.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
molded,
yeah.
like,
Our sense of humor.
right,
Right.
molded everything. Like these are shows we still quote on the daily
Or
These are
watch.
shows- yeah.
It's
Which is fun because I actually sat down and was able to go back
Yeah.
and watch some of these shows that I hadn't in a while.
So I did that too. So yesterday I sat down and I watched each favorite episode of each of the shows on here, and I was like, man, like, okay, like this is a good way to like.
Yeah.
And there were some that I haven't seen in a while, but yeah. So for my list in particular, I didn't say this to you guys, but I don't think I said all of these. I think I said one of them for my own because these are things that could be a list on their own. I said no superhero shows for myself, like DC specifically.
I didn't do that either. Yeah.
No Looney Tunes and no Scooby-Doo or classic Hanna-Barbera stuff.
I mean,
They're a list in themselves.
Not just that, but they're not Cartoon Network originals.
No.
Yeah, I shot for Cartoon Network
Yeah.
original shows.
Right. Yeah, I mean, I think Teen Titans was.
Teen Titans was a Cartoon Network show.
Yeah, I know it
But
was
I didn't
on
do
WB. But so that was the big thing, as I was trying to avoid that, because they can, 8-Bit Eric always says don't give away content, and that's a good way to look at that, is that could be more content for a later date. But
Did you ever think about being 16-bit, Seth?
no, but that's a good one. I like that one.
64.
This actually came from I said Mega Seth, like Megadeth.
Yeah.
And then I was like, Sega Seth. I was like, oh my god, that's perfect. But enough of my lore.
Oh, also, AEW just signed an agreement with Sega
Right, I saw that.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Was
and
that
I
the
mean,
big announcement at Full Gear?
no,
That
Okay.
was a signing of a wrestler.
you didn't
Okay.
see that.
Nope.
Okay.
All right, so no, we won't say
We
anything
won't
about
say
that.
anything.
James texted me
Yeah.
like the other night. He's like, "Hey, did you see what happened on Ring of Honor?" And I said, "No, I don't really watch it." And he said, "Well, it kind of set up for what they were announcing at Full Gear." So
Oh no, that's not the announcement.
it isn't.
On Ring of Honor, it was just Ronda. Ronda Rousey was there.
Yeah,
Oh.
that was.
She did a match, but no, that's not the announcement signing.
Okay.
No.
Ronda Rousey showed up in Ring of Honor. How'd she look?
I didn't get to watch it, but I seen her. I think at Revolver Pro or whatever. She did a match with Athena actually, which she actually looked pretty good.
Okay.
It actually looked pretty good.
All right. That's
Yeah.
good.
Whatever. So she would probably sue me for infringement on my wrestling character because I use Rowdy in the name. But so this is my list. I did regular show and Adventure Time tying for number 5 because they are both very similar, and they were the big inspiration for what I call the cartoon renaissance of the 2010s. Without these two shows, you don't get Gravity Falls, you don't get the My Little Pony show that made everybody obsessed again, you don't get Wander Over Yonder, you don't get all these new shows that completely revolutionized everything. I mean, Chowder and Flapjack beforehand were a big footnote in that, but 2010 in particular, it was the time where a lot of us were in high school and we were like, you know what, that's actually really good.
Yeah.
Before that, Cartoon Network was doing all these live action shows that were doing nothing.
Yeah.
So then these shows caught on.
Those are the two shows we sat down and made Brody watch.
Yes.
That one time.
Yeah,
too, 'cause
and
he
I
hadn't
was-
seen an episode of either.
I was like, you need to see these. But number 4 is Powerpuff Girls. Number 3 is Grim Adventures of Billy and Mandy. Number 2 is Foster's Home for Imaginary Friends. Number 1 is Ed, Edd and Eddy. My honorable mentions are Courage the Cowardly Dog. I took one off because I used
it?
Adventure Time. I
Okay.
tied it for that.
Gotcha.
So, Megas XLR, which, by the way,
I never got into that.
so it was a very shortly lived show.
Mm-hmm.
Very, like, something that targeted towards me, like, now as an adult.
Right.
It's like an American anime style show that, if Kevin Smith made it. Like it takes place in Jersey.
Yeah.
It's got two outcast dudes that drive around this giant robot with this cool alien chick.
I remember seeing commercials for it when it was out.
It's got like a punk rock intro. The skinny nerdy dude has like a beanie and all. It was very, very me targeted, and
Yeah.
I loved it.
My number one's very me targeted, but I'm sure.
Yeah, I'm sure. And then Kids Next Door and Steven Universe. Steven Universe was a show that came out in 2013, which I remember it came out when I was a senior in high school. And I just was completely enamored with it. I loved it. I loved the music. I loved the story. But these other shows just were a little bit more important.
Right.
So yeah, let's see everybody else's list and we'll see what we have in common.
All right.
Okay. Are you go? Me go?
Yeah, I can go next. So
We'll do what we have in common,
Right.
and then and each of us will then go with the ones that we don't have.
Well, just go down your list
Yep.
so we
Yeah.
can talk about
yeah, we'll just go down our list and then we'll just talk about them in general.
Okay.
You just want to do that?
Okay. Well, yeah, I talked about Regular Show and Adventure Time. I loved them because they were relatable characters in fun situations. They pushed the envelope on stuff. Regular Show, I mean, Eric said it best. It's Beavis and Butthead for kids.
Pretty much.
It
still got some adult humor in it.
It's
but-
really funny. Is Regular Show on your list?
Yeah.
Okay, so then we'll
I
get
do
more
that,
into that. But go ahead and do your lists, and we can circle back.
So I actually have 2 honorable mentions on my list, starting with them. I have Grim Adventures of Billy and Mandy,
Hell yeah.
and Johnny Bravo.
Oh yeah, Johnny Bravo's good.
Number 5, I have Foster's Home for Imaginary Friends. Number 4, I have Dexter's Laboratory.
I knew that.
Number 3 is Regular Show. Number 2 is Courage the Cowardly Dog, and number 1 is, without a doubt, Ed,
Ed and Eddy, yeah.
I mean, it's not just my favorite Cartoon Network show. It's in my top 5 cartoons
Ever.
of all time.
Ever. Yeah, we can get more into that. Go ahead, Vale.
All right, so I've got 2 honorable mentions also. I've got Foster's Home is the first one, obviously, that had to be on there. And We Bear Bears.
Yeah, that's another
Is
modern one.
Is that a good show?
Yeah.
It's very good, honestly.
Were we on a trip and found that? Like, where we were at the
don't know.
hotel or something?
We might have or something. But
'Cause-
we sat down and watched that show.
Yeah.
It was actually really funny.
So they did an episode where they were like little kids, and it was in the 90s, and they had Jason David Frank show up, and they were Power Rangers, and I just, oh man, I loved it.
It's definitely a fun show.
It's cool. It's a modern one. That and Craig of the Creek are modern shows that relatively modern that I really enjoy from Cartoon Network.
But then we've got my number 5 being Chowder. The show's hilarious.
That show is so good.
That show is so funny if you go back and watch it, just for the nonsense that goes on.
C.H. Greenblatt, the creator of that show, worked on a lot of really like mid-season, like season 2, season 3 and 4 of SpongeBob.
Right.
And when you watch it, it's a lot of like the hyper zoomed in faces. Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
Number 4 is Codename Kids Next Door. Fantastic.
I thought about putting it on the list, but I didn't watch it as much as the other ones.
Number 3, Grim Adventures of Billy and Mandy, which I sat down and watched some episodes of this morning, and last night falling asleep. I was having such a good time.
It's so. Remember when we watched that before school, and it was Dracula? He's like, Dracula's great, but Dracula don't suck. Dracula ain't no MILF. And we were like, whoa.
Yeah, and just why won't you love me, Dad? I was watching the episode with the spider and stuff.
I watched Keeper of the Reaper.
Yeah.
Because Fred Burger. So like,
yes.
When do we get the nachos? That's, oh my god, dude. I was, there is a joke in that episode that I like howling laughter. It was it's like, it's gonna get ugly. Like that guy, and it zooms in on this guy, and he's like, it is really funny.
But my number 2, obviously, it's on all of ours. Ed, Edd n Eddy, iconic.
Let me guess your number 1.
Oh, I already have a feeling.
Benethan Tennyson.
Yeah, well, of course. Okay, so you talked about being made for you with Mega Sex LR. Ben 10 is about aliens and superheroes. It's like the 2 things that I hyperfixate on sometimes. It was
I liked that show too.
Him finding the watch and then being able to turn into all these aliens and be different heroes, and then the lore that eventually started where they
Alien
got
Force
5 different shows for it, and Ben 10,000 and all the different lore. It's
Alien
great.
Force was kind of like the Batman Beyond of that, like where it was cool, like it was different ideas and stuff.
Ben 10 was good, or Ben 10 was fantastic. Alien Force was great. Alien Swarm was okay, and then like I didn't bother with the newer one where they redid all the animation and stuff. Like I can't.
Of all those new reboots, that one's not terrible.
Really?
Like there was some good stuff in it, but you can tell it's pandering.
It's the same thing with
the new audience.
It's the same thing with Teen Titans Go. I love the show so much, and Teen Titans Go has some funny.
There's some good little,
but it's not.
No, there's some good little meta jokes.
It's not as I think the writing in the original Teen Titans is much better.
Oh, the writing
mainly I think it's because the original Teen Titans was more geared towards young teens and adults.
Right, it was post Bruce Timm.
Teen Titans Go is more like younger kids.
It was like at the tail end of like Justice League and stuff like that.
I like to call it the Bruce Timm universe.
Yeah, the Bruce Timm universe, which is, Teen Titans, I would say from like 2000 and I think it was 2003, 2004 when that show started, and like
I watched it every morning before school.
I would say like till like 2006, that was the superhero show.
Shout out to actually Starfire was my first crush before Raven. For some reason,
I liked Raven. Was an early crush for me.
Yeah, but Starfire, I have no idea why.
Blackfire. Blackfire was where my attraction to toxic women began.
You like Slade.
No, that's Vale's boy. That's
Deathstroke. Deathstroke's fire.
Yeah.
Oh, even though he's not Deathstroke, quote unquote.
Yeah, that took me a long time when I started reading. When I started reading more comics, and I was I always read comics, but like when I read more.
Who's the guy that voiced him? Because he's another iconic voice actor.
say Clancy Brown.
You know, that wouldn't surprise me because it kind of sounds like him.
Or no, I think it's Hellboy.
Oh, Ron Perlman?
Yeah, I could be wrong.
I think you're right. I think you are right. I think
Is it Ron Perlman?
I'm looking.
Because that voice is, it like helped make that show.
Yeah.
Robin's obsession with Slate. Red X.
Ron Perlman.
It was Ron
that's what I
Perlman.
thought.
Yes, I'm
The more
usually
I think
very
about
on
it,
top
like,
of voices.
It sounds like his voice.
Red X was fucking awesome.
Yeah, Red X is cool.
But
and it's original Robin, so the best one, Dick Grayson.
anyways,
Shout out to Nightwing.
anyways.
I'm gonna have to,
Oh, you remember the episode where they go in the future and see Nightwing?
Yeah,
that blew
yeah.
my mind as a kid.
I'm gonna sign with Brandon on that. Dick Grayson.
So, anyways,
Because
Tim
he
Drake.
becomes
So,
Nightwing.
so I got into regular show and Adventure Time a little bit.
Yeah.
More so regular show. Adventure Time, just I think I saw it at the right age. I was 14 and I was really big into animation. I've always been big into animation, but that was the age that I was switching more over to wrestling, more serious wrestling. Horror movies and stuff that was stuff I've always been into, but it was more fixated on the video games,
Right.
Yeah.
Beavis and Butthead, South Park kind of stuff, because that's at that age. But watching that show, I thoroughly enjoyed. Originally, it was pitched to Nickelodeon in 2005, and they passed on it.
Right.
And Finn's the guy who played Finn, his older brother did the voice of Finn in the pilot, and then it became the kid that played him.
Okay.
For those of you who don't know, all three of you on the planet, it's about Finn and Jake is a dog that can stretch really far and is played by John DiMaggio, Bender from Futurama, and from Gears of War. And Finn is they're like goofy, like best friends, and they live in the land of Ooh, and they just kind of encounter stuff. It's not as silly as you would expect it to be. It has some very intense and emotional moments.
Which I was going to say, I feel like overall regular show is more geared for the older crowd.
Yeah.
And Adventure Time's colorful and it's got those fun jokes and it's got the fart
But
jokes
it's
and stuff
also-
like that. But
it's also in that like the middle of the road. Like it's good for adults and for younger kids.
yeah. It's got those heart-wrenching scenes. Shit with Finn and Princess Bubblegum.
But yeah, Finn's relationships, the music, the songs,
Yeah.
the stuff with Marceline, and the Ice King. It showed me at the time that there could be good animation, because at the time I was just like, this all sucks.
Yeah. That's how I kind of felt like when I kept seeing commercials for regular show and Adventure Time. I was like, man, like I was stuck in the past. And then like you guys showed me both shows, and like Adventure Time, I don't love it as much as regular show.
Right.
Like I don't know if I could binge Adventure Time. I could watch episodes here and there. Regular show, I could binge that all day long.
So it's really funny because I remember being at your house one time. It was snowing outside, and we were all hanging out at your house, and there was a new episode of Adventure Time coming on, and I was sitting in your living room while all of you guys were talking, and I was like hyper fixated on I stayed consistent with Adventure Time. I always said regular show is because these shows get compared all the time. Regular show is the funnier show.
Yeah.
Adventure Time has way more heart, and regular show has a lot of heart to it.
Does.
Yeah.
Which both of them are amazing shows, and they're on HBO Max. Highly recommended.
No spoilers, but look at what happens in the movie.
Right.
Good grief.
And look at the final episode.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And even Adventure Time has a couple of spin-offs in regular show. If you haven't, I know you haven't seen it, and a lot of people have kind of slept on it. Close Enough as JQ Quintel's other show.
Yeah.
It's really
told me
good.
about it.
It's really good.
Didn't you say it was like regular show but with all humans?
Yeah, there's some silly elements to it, but it's more like a relatable, like parent type thing.
Right. I just love regular show because the two main characters, Mordecai and Rigby, they just remind me of us.
Yeah, they're very relatable. Yeah, I've always said that I'm totally at work. I'm like a total Rigby.
And there's so many good like moments in the show, and like a lot of people complain about the show because it's like the same thing every episode. Like, oh, Mordecai and Rigby slack off at work, and then something crazy happens. But
that works.
But it works for the show.
Scooby-Doo, Sailor Moon, all these other really good shows are all formulaic.
Yeah.
But if you have a formula that works,
but they do it right.
Right. And the good thing about both of these shows is they lasted a while, but they knew when to stop.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I
They
think
didn't overstay their welcome.
no. And the spin-offs took time for Adventure Time, and they did different things with them.
Which I'm making a shout out to Cartoon Network right now.
Make the box set
of regular show with the entire show and the movie. You put out the Adventure Time box set, I will fucking pay top dollar for the regular show box set.
So
Shout out AJ Francis.
that's John will want Jim Cornette to start ripping me a new one.
He's right here.
But
well, let me tell you something about this regular
I'll
show.
tell you right now, that Mordecai and Rigby, I don't give a damn. But yeah, also if you're gonna do that, Cartoon Network, don't exclude the holiday episodes like you do for some reason on the Ed and Eddie set, which I don't understand that. Maybe there's like a rights issue. Yeah, or the movie.
I know there might be a rights issue.
Yeah,
but what's stopping you from putting regular?
I know that they used to put them on different compilations. I don't know, but anyways,
which I'm mad I got rid of.
Adventure Time and regular show,
Right.
damn near perfect.
Yes.
Powerpuff Girls. So I knew I was gonna be the only one.
I mean, to be
it's
honest,
a great show.
it's a great show.
Yeah.
It's a show that I didn't think I would like, but I do.
So it's very anime inspired at the time, which was really Craig McCracken and Lauren Faust both worked on the show, and Gendy Karnakowski. They were all, Dexter's Lab, Samurai Jack. Lauren Faust would go on to do
Star Wars Clone Wars miniseries. Too,
Yep,
which is the best,
amazing.
Which is one of the best Star Wars anything out there.
And they aired it in like 5-minute segments.
Yeah, they're not
I remember
long.
talking to my mom about how much I liked that show when I was a little kid. But anyways, Powerpuff Girls, it was, Lauren Faust and Craig McCracken would go on to do Foster's Home, and Lauren Faust would go on to do My Little Pony Friendship is Magic, which the only reason I bring that up is because Powerpuff Girls and My Little Pony were kind of like the same thing, where it's like guys would watch it and kind of be like, oh yeah, I kind of like this show. Like, I remember being in first grade and kid being like, oh, this show's for girls, and I loved it. My dad wouldn't take me to see the Powerpuff Girl movie.
I saw it in the theaters with my cousin.
Really? Yeah, my dad wouldn't take me to see it. Thanks for that. But I love the show. It's about Blossom, Bubbles, and Buttercup. They're all superheroes.
For some reason, a doctor was trying to make little girls in his basement.
So, anyways,
the whole point of the story.
no, but and then did you guys know that the voice of Ghostface is the voice of Mojo Jojo?
Roger Jackson?
Yes.
No shit.
Yes.
I did not know that.
So it's just about their day-to-day life of being kids but also being superheroes. It's got some really intense action. It's got some good music. It's got some really cool animation scenes.
Really cool really good off-the-wall humor.
Yeah.
Like shit that went over
references to South Park, like a lot of innuendos and stuff. Some really good humor too.
Which is the same reason I have Chowder on the list, is those throwaway adult jokes. They had very good hidden little messages that you wouldn't understand until you watched it 5 to 10 years. Same thing with a lot of shows back then. But then you're like, oh my god, really? They said that?
It's funny because I experienced like seeing that. I was like, oh my god. But yeah, the Powerpuff Girls is just a little simple thing that I liked. I grew up loving it.
Plus,
I still
the
love
names
it
of
now.
some of the characters are just really hilarious, like Professor Utonium, Miss Cerebellum,
Fuzzy Lumpkins.
Yeah.
But
did the mayor have a name, or was just the mayor?
The mayor,
Okay.
Tom Kenny, and
that's Tom Kenny,
and he just such a perfect VA. I love Tom Kenny, super nice guy. But yeah, it's Powerpuff Girls. Billy and Mandy. Now both had them on there, right?
I had it on my honorable mention.
That's 3 on me.
So Billy and Mandy, when I was watching it yesterday, I kind of came to the conclusion it's Looney Tunes, Hanna-Barbera, and Evil Dead.
Yes.
Put into one show,
that's a good way of
which is a good way of why I explain it. Why I love it. So Billy and Mandy are these little kids, and they end up making a deal. They're playing Limbo, and they beat the Grim Reaper.
Yeah.
And the Grim Reaper becomes their pet because they made a deal with him forever.
Right.
And it's just about them like abusing him.
Yes.
And like all these, like, it's super like adult type humor.
It's got some really scary elements.
It's really
Yeah,
terrifying
yeah.
sometimes. Some of the close-ups and stuff they have.
The Halloween episode in particular with Wayne Knight in it, he played Jack, and it's about him getting his head chopped off, like stuff like that.
It's got you've got your stupid humor with Billy.
Yeah.
You've got your more adult-centered humor with Mandy.
Yeah.
And you've got the goofiness of that Looney Tune-esque type thing that you can do with Grimm and all the weird, like, hellish characters that show up and everything like that.
And it's really funny. Actually, a really good game on PS2, too, that Weird Al narrates. But, like, Harry Potter parodies were normal. There was often times of them just going to hell and stuff like that. Super big tribute to a lot of the Hanna-Barbera episodes, like straight up just using those characters at times, which were really funny.
Yeah, Erwin's mom being the mummy.
Yeah, that's
Blackula.
just stuff like that just only could exist in that show.
Didn't they do like a Animaniacs thing and have like a side show?
Yeah,
like
so
with
Evil
Pinky and the Brain?
Carnate
That's
from
what it was.
So it was pitched at
I
the
really like
same
that. I really like that.
time. It was Grim and Evil was originally what the show I think was
Right.
pitched for.
Yeah.
Which is, I actually watched the episode with some of them earlier about, what's his face, the bald guy.
Oh, Scar.
Scar,
Yeah.
Scar.
Yeah.
Where he's trying to become normal and Billy keeps messing with him.
Yeah, I like that one.
Yeah,
It
that
becomes
was
like a
good.
Dennis the Menace parody.
Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, Billy and Mandy, man, Maxwell Adams knew what he was doing. He's a super nice guy too. I've talked to him before. He's worked on a lot of later stuff. But yeah, I love me some Billy and Mandy. Super original idea, super creative, fun stuff. Dark.
Very dark humor.
Yeah.
But yeah, so Foster's Home for Imaginary Friends. Now it was on yours too? Okay. So this show was originally pitched as an idea to be about dogs.
Really?
Yeah. So I'm actually working on a video right now about the Christmas episode released closer to Christmas. And I'm going to talk more about the show. It was one of the most creative. There was there's a thing in Billy and Mandy and Foster's that I noticed upon rewatching these. No background character looks the same.
No.
Especially in Foster's, they had to create so many different designs for all these imaginary friends. And they were just amazing.
That's what was awesome is they had no limit.
No.
Anything they could come up with. In the next episode, they could be like, oh, this dude's going to make this with his brain.
Yeah, right.
And then they had the teenagers who made like the
big
in the
block
first
ones.
episode.
Yeah. And it was one of the first shows as well that I consistently watched every week.
Yeah.
And it was brand new, and I fell in love with it. I used to have a little piece of paper with blue drawn on it and pretend that he was my imaginary friend. The voice work on that show is legendary. You have Phil Lamar. You have Tony Neal, I think his name is, the voice of Professor, and Tom Kenny, of course.
I loved Mac's older brother. Come back! I just want to punch you.
So you know the voice of him. Tara Strong.
Really?
That was Tara Strong?
That was Tara Strong.
Wow.
And I have to say, for her voice and Tom Kenny's Eduardo voice, that had to kill their vocal cords.
Oh
Oh my god.
Well, because you look at
Tell me why Will look like Kyle.
You look at Tara. You look at Tara Strong, and it's like, how do you go from voicing Harley Quinn to doing an older brother?
Tara Strong was also Ben 10.
Yeah, I knew that.
Yeah, I feel like a lot of people did, but it's just funny. And of course, Bubbles on Powerpuff Girls. But I mean, I could be here all day listing off all her work. But so Foster's was this so creative. Yeah. It's such an original idea, and like these shows
there wasn't anything like it, and there's not going to be anything like it.
No. And this kid has so in this world, imaginary friends come to life, and the kids eventually abandon them, and this is like
once they grow up, they
kind of get rid of them.
They gotta put them up for adoption.
And so this is like an orphanage for them, and it was originally, like I said, about dogs. So I kind of can see the elements of that. It's got some of the most beautiful backgrounds.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
And original Victorian kind of style, like Super Mario World type music.
Very intricate, yeah.
Just cool, funny jokes. There's an episode title that's a reference to The Big Lebowski.
Yeah.
Which has a reference to The Big Lebowski in it.
Yeah.
It's funny type humor that I watched the Christmas one this morning because I watch it every year, and there's a joke where it's like, we only get one present. Moisha said we get 8, and he said it's a dreidel with a little yarmulke and juke roll, and he says no, I said I get 8. And, like, kids aren't gonna get that.
There's another good joke where I think it was the episode where everyone goes to the beach for the day, and Max and
Mac and Blue
are stuck in the house for the day, and it's like they keep watching the weather.
Yeah,
and
hot
so bored.
in Topeka.
In Topeka, and they do that whole thing where they just slide on their knees across the floor.
Yeah, and then there was one in the episode I watched.
Mademoiselle, was that what was her name was?
What, Madame Foster?
No, the
Duchess.
Duchess.
Yeah. So there was one. It was I watched the cheese episode, and
cereal.
I like.
He's like, you get cheese and crackers, and then he's like, come on, crackers, and it's like this little dog, and he's like, really, you want to adopt me? And then it cuts to the next scene, and the dog's crying. He's like, sorry, crackers, I think he was just hungry. And like, this is like, that's what they all say. And oh my god, it was so funny.
Yeah, I used to find it funny when they they painted the bunnies on fire
Oh, yeah.
on the side of that little
Hot rod
go-kart,
flames!
and then they had to go really slow. He goes,
There was a game on cartoonnetwork.com. It was a Flash game, and it was it was called Wii, and it was just, you would hold onto the mouse, and he would be like really close, and then you could let go, and it would go, and he would be. So
that game.
Me and my brother one time opened up 15 tabs of that,
Oh,
and it was just echoing, and it was like, Wii! And we crashed our computer. But yeah, I love this show. Again, me and my brother would watch it all the time. I've enjoyed it as an adult. It is just a warm comfort show.
Yeah.
Original ideas, and I love Lauren Faust's stuff. So, yeah, Foster's Home is just a super creative idea, and Mac and Blue. So, a part of that is that Blue can stay there, but Mac has to come visit him every day, and so he does, and it's about Mac just hanging out with this insane group of people. And I remember there was a joke where it's like, quick, read Coco's diary, and it's just like, go. So yeah, if you haven't watched, all these shows are on HBO Max. Some of them have box sets, but yeah, definitely recommend it. And so then the big one, Ed, Edd and Eddy.
Oh my god.
So I knew this was going to be
That could be a whole episode.
whole podcast in ourselves. So Ed, Edd and Eddy, I feel like, for those of you who don't know, it was made on a bed. It was made by Danny Antonucci.
Yep. Danny
Antonucci made that show on a bed. It's a Canadian. It didn't air in Canada for a while, but it was a Canadian-based show. And Ed, Edd and Eddy was just this super stupid, over-the-top humor of just everyday life living in the cul-de-sac.
Yeah.
You recognize these characters. You either were these kids or you knew these kids. And I think it spoke to Outcast because all of them hate them.
Yeah.
They hate these 3 people, and they're all just tight-knit.
Yeah.
dorks.
And it's so... There's quotable moments. It's so funny.
The sound effects.
The
Yes.
sound effects
are incredible.
That's what it makes the show. The comedy.
Ed's one-liners
get
get me
too.
My
all...
dad has a shovel. That is right, son. A line is a terrible thing to shovel.
How can my feet smell if they don't have a nose? Like
My parents took away the stairs because I am grounded.
That's disturbing. I think that's
Good
why.
Lord.
Good Lord, man. There's so many memorable moments. It brings us to tears watching this. It's one of those things we'll throw on if we don't have anything on, and we'll just laugh hysterically at, because there's just so many good episodes and jokes. And
one of Double D's best lines though is when Ed is tied to the house basically, and he gets loose, and Double D comes in, and he's just like, He's just like, oh, it's been quite a day. And he sees Eddie. He's like, is that the support beam to the house?
What's a support
For
beam?
some reason, when Double D says that, it kills me.
There's so many lines like that I loved as a kid, and I love them even more now. The one where he's like, all right, dear, see you later, and he's going into the car.
You can't drive.
And he's just walking to the car so slow. And oh, man. It's just, I mean,
Double D,
let me poke your brain.
What's that?
It's the Phantom of the Earwax. And I feel like this show walked so all the later ones could run.
Oh, definitely.
It was up until Adventure Time. It was Cartoon Network's longest running show.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it was the big one. It was. I mean, everybody watched this show. Everybody quoted this show. I can remember watching it one time, and my mom's like, "What are you watching?" I was like, "Ed and Eddie." It was like they're building something. And it was the episode with the where the quarter gets stuck on the ground.
Yeah.
And it like shows them overnight. And my mom was like, "Well, that's funny because they're usually blowing something up." But I mean, I've said it multiple times. This is a show that you could throw on, and you wouldn't even have to watch it. Like
no. It's just as funny, if not funnier, just listening to it.
The animation is so fast. Yeah. It's so funny. It's
one of the best episodes is when they mess with the laws of like physics and gravity.
Yeah. Dude, and it just goes
is that
over
Jimmy's outline.
And then he takes them off and he flushes. Like don't spam me. It's like even now, just talking about it makes me want to just throw it on. Yeah. Like I love it to death. I have the complete series.
And, the other one of my favorite Jimmy lines is when I think it's the episode where Sarah falls in love with Double D. And she just leaves Jimmy alone. And one of his lines is, "You looking for trouble? Because I'll flip you like an omelet."
It's great.
Another good episode is when they hypnotize everyone.
Oh
they make Jimmy really strong. Yeah. He comes out of the flower bed. He's just like, "Nah, give me something to bend."
That's the one with the boomerang.
I thought that was the one where they
I thought so
everyone.
Too, but I think they do that again with the boomerang, where the boomerang changes everybody's personality.
Yeah, you might be right
so,
on that.
But yeah, and it's so good. And then, like I said, my honorable mentions I've already talked a little bit about. Courage on.
I do want to talk about Kids Next Door. That's on
mine. Courage the Cowardly Dog, is that on yours?
That's on my list. That's my second one.
A lot of people say that like Goosebumps was the precursor to them being into horror and stuff like that.
Courage was my gateway to horror.
Courage, I always say Courage, Scooby-Doo, and the Real Ghostbusters.
Courage and Scooby-Doo, definitely.
And the Real Ghostbusters for me. They all really like pushed what you could do on it. Like, and Billy Mandy too, I guess.
Courage, there's literally an episode where it's a parody of The Exorcist.
Yeah, and it's super funny. I can remember Evan and I would just watch Courage for hours. It was just so funny. We would watch the one with the tower where everybody was sad. Yeah, he's got the tower in the middle of the road, and then Eustace is in the truck, and he's like, "Get that pile of junk out of the road!" Oh man,
what's that do for love?
What's your offer?
That's it. I'm getting me mallet.
It always stuck with me, that episode with the fat guy and all the flan.
Oh
and I didn't know what it was, and it like made me like I hated flan for no reason, like just for the idea of it.
Flan.
You know what episode made me hungry for some reason?
I'll tell you. You tell me yours, and I'll tell you.
Me too.
So for some reason, it's probably going to be the same one. Is where Eustace stops for a burger at the burger joint run by the pigs.
That wasn't going to be my one. I want you to meet my wife.
yeah. For some reason,
David used to quote that all the time.
It's like the whole episode is basically like Eustace stops for a burger, and because he wants a burger, and Courage thinks that the pigs are like cooking humans downstairs,
which
but it turns out
is terrifying.
But it turns out like it's like a Texas Chainsaw Massacre. Almost.
I want you to meet my wife.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
But it just ends up being like his wife like makes like artwork out of like ground beef. Yeah. And like Courage walks down to the basement and sees Eustace's head like molded into the ground beef and thinks that's what happened to him.
Yeah.
I always saw it just because who I am, the mac and cheese one.
Yeah.
More cheese.
Yeah.
Less macaroni.
So
I hate macaroni and cheese.
mine was the both of those too, but mine was the one with the flapjacks.
Yeah.
Every
Yeah.
time they made
Yeah.
pancakes, it just looked so
Yeah,
good.
yeah. I'm telling you, man, food looks so much better in
know.
cartoons for some reason.
Oh, cartoon steak. Ooh, hit me with that. Like a
yeah,
Tom and Jerry steak.
Oh yeah,
Hit me with
most
the
definitely.
Krabby Patties.
Yeah.
Even-
we made one.
Even
Yeah.
Madagascar,
Yeah.
steaks in Madagascar looks
Yes,
good.
yeah.
3D animated ones, but Courage. I mean, it's just about a dog that lives in the middle of nowhere,
Yep.
and where all this weird
All
stuff
this crazy
happens.
shit happens.
I mean,
Listen to the intro.
the
song,
intro
it'll tell you
Yeah.
sums everything up.
who lives in the middle of nowhere. Creepy stuff happens in nowhere.
Another one of my favorite lines is the episode where Eustace refuses to get out of his chair.
Nope, I'm not getting up.
There's like a shot of him just like flying across the side. It's like, still not getting out of this chair.
Me and Evan would watch that one a lot too.
I always compared them to my grandma and grandpa on my dad's
That's
side.
a
Yeah.
really perfect comparison. Yeah,
Yeah, that's a good comparison.
yeah.
That's what always made me laugh.
Yeah, but I mean, it holds up,
Yeah.
and I think that the jokes in it, the hyper zoomed in moments and weird animation styles are just great. And I think that's everything. Oh, Kids Next Door.
Yeah.
That's so.
Well, yeah, we gotta do Kids Next Door. Then I want to do Chowder and Ben 10 real quick. 'Cause
Yep.
they're both big on
I was gonna say it was the last ones for me.
Oh, yeah.
But Kids Next Door. So I think what makes Kids Next Door work is it takes like a concept like Ed, Edd and Eddy, and it mixes in like an action spy show element
Right.
to it. You have the relatable kids. You have
Relatable.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like everybody can remember.
I almost put it on my honorable mention.
Playing those games as a kid, but they have supervillains and they're fighting off the Toilinator and they're fighting off Count Spankula.
Yeah,
Is
the
it
stuff-
Toilinator, Count Spankula. That was...
Isn't Father like the big baddie of the whole show?
Yeah, and he's
He's got some fire lines too.
Yeah.
He was cracking me up. And what was his kid's name?
the Delightful Children
Delightful
from
Children,
Down the Lane,
yep.
Yeah.
which again is something that I think everybody can relate to because we all knew those rich kids down the road that were all snobby, but
Got
like at this,
everything they wanted.
which was the first episode with the birthday cake.
Yeah.
And the thing that also, the same thing with the other shows, all these agents looked creative.
Yes.
They were all different.
They all looked different.
The weapons were cool. They were made out of bottles and wood and kitchen utensils.
Talk about the relatability when the blonde kid with the swishy hair who always had on a hoodie and slipped in a wrestling ring.
Yep.
Like,
And then the DBZ parody,
Yeah.
which was like a staple for some reason. But the villains were fun. I mean, everybody quotes...
Candy Beard.
Yeah, Sticky Beard.
Sticky Beard. Sticky
Blah,
Beard.
I always, for some reason, think of when he goes Blurpleberry, and so it's funny.
That had some fun lore behind it too.
Yeah,
With number one.
you actually get into the like. It's not just silly. It's funny.
You get into number 0, and then you get into the Kids Next Door of the universe or whatever. Like
Right. So Maurice LaMarche, I just looked it up to confirm it. Maurice LaMarche did the voice of Father.
Right.
Maurice LaMarche was Egon on the real Ghostbusters,
Right.
which is funny to think that somebody that I was a cool character that I loved was the father on. Wasn't it that they were related? Wasn't it like Nigel and Father? Weren't they like related to
Were they?
Nigel's dad or something like that?
I remember. Well, number 1's dad was number 0.
Yeah,
that's what I read.
And I think that they were related to.
End.
Yeah, I watched all the episodes like forever ago, 10 years ago.
I
now.
need to revisit it.
But
a fun revisit.
fun little like. There's not too many like innuendos, but like it's funny like showing how kids look at teenagers and stuff like that,
And like older adults.
and like older adults, and you get to really care about these characters and their trials and tribulations. How everything's powered by hamsters and they just really cool tree houses and
I
stuff.
wanted that treehouse so bad.
They had
Yes.
they had a Christmas episode where they were all X-Men parodies, and
Oh,
I
really?
just always remember that, and stuff like that was really funny. Just a nice little, I don't want to say slice of life, but like just over the top stuff that works with good little action and fun little jokes. And then I talked about Steven Universe. I just original idea, super creative stuff, really good music, really.
Buy the box set at Walmart.
I kind of do, but I don't want to spend that.
It's like $70.
It's $40 at Retro,
Yeah.
So I think it's like even 30. But I think the show is gorgeous. It touches on some really serious things, relationships, abusive relationships, which Courage actually did too. But it's kind of like regular show and Adventure Time in the sense that it builds lore, but it also touches on a lot of really personal things and stuff like that. Greg, Steven's dad, is one of the most relatable characters in fiction for me. He's a great character. And my favorite line in the whole show is, so his manager was like a jerk, deadbeat dad type character. And he says to him, he's like, "Oh, great, you met a woman? How big is she?" And he's just like, "Huge." But the show has, like I said, amazing music that I can listen to outside of the show. The characters are upbeat and positive, and the ones that aren't have really cool justification behind them. I understand why people don't enjoy the show. The fandom is a little annoying.
I never really watched it.
No, well, again, it came out in 2013, so
that's when I wasn't really watching Cartoon
so
Network too much.
But original creative ideas that just really, really are great. Highly recommended if you're into like a regular show Adventure Time type vibes. And if you like, it's very based on anime and just fun stuff. Original. That's a big thing. So, but yeah, I mean that's my stuff.
Yeah. Well, lost my train of thought.
Whatever one is on your list that we didn't talk about.
Yeah. So I really only have 2 shows on here that we really didn't talk about because they were the only ones on my list. Dexter's Laboratory.
Oh, very important.
It's an important
It's
one.
another very important show of my childhood.
That holds up well.
That holds up so
Yeah.
well. It's basically, for those of you who have, live under a rock, it's basically this kid who has this humongous lab that he built himself in his house that nobody knows about except for him and his sister.
His secret laboratory.
Yes. And he's always building new things, and he's always trying to keep his sister out. The infamous line, "DD, get out of my laboratory." Everyone knows that. But just a lot of really good characters, really good, really well written humor. And then what was another? There was one episode that I really liked. And
you think of yours, I'll tell you
I
mine.
can't remember what the episode was called, but like, I think like the story of it, Dexter had to stay after school for something.
Yeah.
And like the one shot in my mind I always remember is him sitting in the classroom, and like it's zoomed in on his face, and he's like doing some kind of evil laughter with like flames in the background. I can't remember the episode.
There's 2 episodes that stick out for me. There's
of course, Mandark.
I feel like everybody does that laugh.
Yeah.
Again, in another show that just randomly would have Hanna-Barbera characters,
Yes.
Scooby-Doo,
Yep.
and I remember one time they were talking to Betty, and from Flintstones, she's like, "Yeah, Betty, she'll have to call you back."
Yeah.
Like, but the 2 episodes that always stick out to me are the Star Trek parody episode where they go to the Star Trek convention, but it actually is a Barbie convention, and NRFB, never removed from box, and then. With all the commentary on like being a nerd, and then the D&D one's really cool where they go into the Dungeons and Dragons parody. But then the Christmas episode I like, the Action Hank episode is good. But my favorite,
Mr. T, isn't it?
Yeah, it's like a Mr. T parody. I don't know if he did the voice.
It was Mr. T.
I could believe it. The one that was my favorite was where he became a doll and he became in love with Darby. And then, of course, there's the 2 spin-offs that came out of it. The Justice Friends and Dial M for Monkey.
Oh, so... Yeah, it wasn't... It wasn't Mr. T. It was he was actually voiced by 3 people: Michael Armstrong, Kevin Michael Richardson, and John Gary.
The voice that I remember the most is Kevin Michael Richardson.
Yeah.
So which has done so much.
Then of course there's the one episode where Dexter orders the humongous burrito.
Oh
And
yeah.
at the very end, he just lets out that like huge fart and it like reaches out to like the galaxy, and his parents are just like, Dexter.
There's
one of my other favorite lines from the father, because the father is so stupid.
He's an
like,
idiot.
He's an idiot, and one of the best lines is like, Dexter, how long have you been keeping this secret lab from me? Because I'm just a sucker for Labrador Retrievers.
Mine is where the Blue Falcon shows up.
Yeah.
And he's like, the Blue Falcon. He's like, oh yeah, you guys didn't do too hot last year. And he's like, no, I'm the Blue Falcon. Yeah, don't beat yourself up. There's always next season. And just stupid shit.
It's just a really well written show.
That was Cartoon Network's like first big hit.
Yes.
It put them on the map.
I mean, and the spin-offs that like, well, not the spin-offs, but like the
sideshows.
The sideshows that would connect. Dial M for Monkey, the Justice Friends. Justice Friends was amazing.
Justice Friends, hey, Papa Pound Mitch.
Yeah.
Hey, bonk on the head. Yeah. But, like, the fact that you haven't been Valhallan for Halloween yet is a travesty.
You need to do that one year.
That would be cool.
Because that's you.
Yeah.
You could be the Imbraggable Crunk, and I could be Major Glory.
Yep.
Let's go, yeah.
Let's do it.
That would be fun. Again, it just... Craig McCracken and Gendy Tarakovsky, just bear with me. I'm sure I'm not pronouncing that right. It's just good. It's just funny.
I mean, like, there hasn't been one thing that Gendy Tarakovsky has done that I haven't liked. I mean, Samurai Jack, Dexter's Lab, Star Wars: The Clone Wars.
He did the Hotel Transylvania movies too.
Which I actually just found out like a couple months ago, and that kind of blew my mind.
Yeah, he's good stuff. He does good stuff. Yeah. I like all of his work.
But my other show that I'm not going to go into too much detail, but Johnny Bravo, that was another classic show.
Their other first really big hit.
It's just basically about this guy who thinks he's the shit. He's like really well built.
An Elvis parody.
Essentially.
Which is funny because it's this weird little thing with that show.
Yeah.
Not to cut you off,
no,
but it's
fine.
something I want to address.
All the time, but it's okay.
We all do.
Yeah.
We all have something to say. So it's a dad show. Everybody I've ever met, their dad likes that show.
I don't know if my dad was ever.
I
think he liked it a little bit.
I think it's because it was an Elvis parody, but it was also very much in the style of Hanna-Barbera. It was a show from the 60s, and I think that appealed to, like, Eric was like, Pops likes that show, my dad likes that show.
Shout out to you again, Cartoon Network. I would love a Johnny Bravo box set.
Yeah, again, good, just funny.
And put the Scooby-Doo crossover on it, because you can't find that shit
can't find
anywhere.
that. Even
it's lost media.
I have it completely legal on Plex, and it's not on there. So you can't... Eric had it on DVD because he got it in a cereal box. Yeah. And it's like, I can't find that anywhere, and I love watching it.
It's like the Scooby-Doo project. You really can't find that too much anywhere either.
But, like, the Scooby-Doo and Johnny Bravo thing isn't even on YouTube.
Yeah.
Like, I can't find it anywhere.
One of my favorite things.
Yeah.
I can't see without my glasses. I can't be seen without my glasses.
that had a couple of spin-offs, too. Yeah. The Jungle Boy and stuff like that.
Oh, really?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, okay.
They weren't lived too long.
Yeah,
but...
it's just a fun show. There's a lot of jokes on that show that would not get on TV today.
Oh, yeah.
You know who worked on that show?
It's like some of the jokes are very there's a lot of toxic masculinity, I guess, which I don't really care about, but like it's just something that wouldn't be able to get on TV today.
Do you know why?
Why?
Seth MacFarlane was on that show.
That makes sense.
He was a big force on that show, and Butch Hartman.
Yeah,
and
I did know Seth MacFarlane wrote for that show.
Yeah, and Butch Hartman.
Yeah.
So it's kind of funny.
Yeah.
I think Butch Hartman. I know for a fact they've worked on because Dr. Hartman on Family Guy, his real name is Elmer, which is Butch Hartman's real name,
right.
and but yeah, no, I love Johnny Bravo.
Yeah,
it's great.
And I think like a lot of people have been saying like making parody posters of like if they ever make a live action Johnny Bravo
with The Rock.
And I mean,
they did in Bollywood apparently.
I couldn't think of a better person to play him. He could play that. He could play Johnny Bravo so fucking well.
The only other person I could think of would be Chris Hemsworth. That would be kind of funny.
Yeah, because he could pull it off.
He plays a good like himbo type character.
He could pull it off.
And with the show I've been watching that I'll get into with Chris Evans, he plays a kind of himbo type character, and like thinking about that, he could kind of do that too.
But all right, we got Chowder real quick. So Chowder even got more funny to me after working in the kitchen for a couple years.
Devin loves that.
Something's always cooking.
Yeah. Adds that stupid ass humor. They just put words together. Oh, we've got to get the flim florm schlims before the steak ends up flim florm ringing, and it just used to.
It's cool because it incorporates a lot of different ways to animate, which is something I always respect because I knew it had to be a bitch to make with the moving background, with the moving characters, but the backgrounds are moving.
Stay the same. Yes, I always thought that was so cool.
Yeah, it's a bitch to do. I have friends that have done animation projects, and they tell me how simple stuff is a bitch to do. And as an animation student, at one point, I will tell you, it's not fun.
It's just stupid humor. Gazpacho. My wife said if I didn't sell these 3 beans today, I had to sleep in the garden.
It's a show I never really got into, just because I guess it was like we were talking about. It's part of that 2010s like
2007.
I just wasn't watching a whole lot.
It came out in 2007. But like it's more in the like the Flapjack and that were like the big ones at the time.
It's very very goofy, very silly.
Gazpacho is my favorite character.
Gazpacho's
Master Shake. And then I feel like everybody, Schnitzel, who's John DiMaggio, Rada, and I always remember the one with the nevilled eggs. Yeah. Because he's like, oh, I want to try me some nevilled eggs. And he tries them and they're like, oh, this is disgusting.
Yeah. It's very funny. Definitely check it out. It's got some good adult humor in it, too. With Mung Dahl always worried about his wife and everything like that.
Who's
Damn it, woman!
Tara Strong.
Yeah.
Yeah, Tara Strong playing that. She's like, my 2 favorite friends, peanut and butter.
And then, of course, the big one that these guys knew that was going to be on here is Ben 10, which I've talked about. I'm going to get an Omnitrix tattooed on my wrist.
Surprised you haven't gotten it yet.
Yeah,
me too.
Surprised it wasn't your first tattoo.
It's, this kid, he's 10 years old. He goes out with his cousin and his grandpa on summer break. There ends up being a meteor that crashes, and Ben goes and finds it, and it's a watch sticks to his wrist, and it's this watch that an alien made that has the DNA of every single alien in
But he like discovers
universe.
them.
Right.
Yeah.
But I mean, it's locked when he first got it, where he can't access everything because it's in like a safety mode or something. So he originally only can access 10 aliens. Throughout the show, he gets more like Wild Vine. He gets Cannonbolt. He gets
Upchuck.
Yeah, Ghost Freak ends up leaving. But it was just.
I watched a little bit of it here and there. I'm just not a big sci-fi guy.
Yeah.
I'm very picky about my sci-fi things, whether it be live action or cartoon. But I mean, it's well done from like the clips I've seen.
Yeah, I think it just came out at the right time too.
Oh yeah.
Because it was like the last big, like, I call them action figure shows, like shows that made me want to buy the toys. Because I guess because I was like 10 when it came out, but it was the original series had a big stranglehold on me. I did really like that.
Had some very, very good villains. Dr. Animo, where he would fucking, he had the helmet on his head and he could, revive basically anything he had the bones of. So like he got into a museum and reanimated a Tyrannosaurus Rex for Ben to fight, and he was reanimating.
I don't remember too much of the villains outside of like Kevin 11 and Vilgax.
Oh, Kevin 11 was fire.
That was cool because he was like a combination of all of them. I remember my brother had a figure of that one.
He had an absorbing power, and essentially he absorbed all of Ben's 10 aliens, but then he couldn't return back to his human form. He was just like this fucked up looking combination
I
of
loved
all
it.
the aliens. Yeah, that was cool. Which later on he does get to.
How does he come, like...
I'm pretty sure it's got something to do with Gwen and the magic, because
Gwen gets magic. Yeah, I forgot about that.
But anyway, their grandfather ends up being a plumber, which is a secret acronym for people. I don't remember what
the
it
Rust
is.
Bucket.
Yeah. but they were people who battled aliens when they came to Earth and stuff like that.
Yeah,
So
it's just one of those shows too that it hasn't gone away.
Mhm.
Like my cousin's kids, when they were staying with my parents, they were really big, and the kid was like obsessed with Ben 10.
Yeah.
And my mom was like, "Oh, Seth used to watch that." And 10 years prior, I was dating a girl. Her brother was obsessed with Ben 10.
Mhm.
So it was just weird that it's became like a Transformers, Ninja Turtles, Pokemon type thing.
It's got its little following.
Where
still, even
it just
nowadays.
consistently keeps being popular and still remaining as... I think he even had a Ben 10 birthday party at my parents' house, and I remember getting you saving you a cupcake with a little alien on it.
Yeah, it was. It's a good show. It's got good writing. It's got a good lore behind it. It's definitely got its own world building. It's with all the series it's had. It was just something, like I said, was aimed towards me. I was really obsessed with the fact of aliens existing and stuff when I was a kid. I've always been a big alien. These guys know. I stay up till 3 a.m. watching some UFO video about.
I used to read the books, but
and then superheroes. I mean, I've got characters tattooed.
We're both
on me,
really
the fact,
big comic book nerds.
So it was the combination of those two, plus me being a kid at the time, and just it was so cool.
I remember we taped it one time. It was me and Austin's uncle, who I just call my uncle. He said, "Oh, I have that taped," and me and Austin was really big into the show too, and we were watching it, and he was like, "Oh, from what I understand, he's like a guy with like 10 different superpowers," and I was like, "That's a good way to sum it up. Is he's like 10 different superheroes, and I think that's why it appeals. It's kind of like X-Men in the sense where like." Unlike Spider-Man and Batman and Superman, if you don't like the one character, you have somebody you'll like.
Right. Well, it was always cool when you discover these new aliens. I mean, you got Four Arms, who's generic. You know, he's a big, strong guy with 4 arms. And you've got Stinkfly, who shoots out the acid out of his eyes and stuff. You got Upgrade, who can take over anything electronic.
He was my
alter
favorite. He was my favorite.
You've got Gray Matter, who's like 3 inches tall, but he knows anything technical in the universe.
He was my other favorite. Yeah.
You've got Ghost Freak, who was a ghost who could possess people. It was
Heat Blast.
Heat
You're gonna
Blast.
have me now looking to get some of these figures
Wild
back
Man.
because
Yes.
I really liked these. They were cool designed.
Yeah, that's my number one. I love that show. I'll always love that show. I go back and rewatch it every once in a while.
It's fun. I definitely don't know as much as you do about it, but I remember thoroughly enjoying it.
I mean, this man can literally sing
I know.
the whole song like.
I know the song.
yeah.
I mean, I love the song, but it's a banger.
I had the Omnitrix watch,
So
and my
did
dad
I.
used to get annoyed because I turned that bitch, and I'd be like, "It's hero time! Accelerate!" and I'd start running around the fucking house.
That thing was cool.
Yeah, that thing was awesome. The fact that it would announce it, it'd go, and then it would pop up.
The
and
first
stuff.
one I had sucked because it was it had like a light, and you had to like physically take this like little disc and kind of change it.
Yeah,
and then I got the one that was actually like it would pop up and it would go like you could change the little thing on it.
But it's gonna go right on my right wrist at some point.
I'll have to see if I can snag one of those for you for like Christmas or something because I wouldn't mind seeing that again too. Those are cool.
So, but Ben 10, we can wrap that up and go into our picks, I guess.
I had a little diamond head that you could press the back.
Head,
He had a light. And you could click the back and.
Pretty good band.
I knew you were gonna say that. Who's your favorite alien?
Of the original 10?
Yeah, of the original 10. Of the original 10.
I was a really big. Wild Mutt was really cool.
Yeah, he was
just
cool.
Because
they all have their own weaknesses and stuff.
That
too.
was the cool.
Yeah.
It was also around the time like I was really big into Daredevil and stuff at the time, and the fact that Wild Mutt's essentially Daredevil as a dog.
Yeah.
Because he got the echolocation. But Wild Mutt, I loved. Ripjaw.
Oh, Ripjaw was cool.
Ripjaw
I had to
was
figure him too.
The mermaid with the sharp
He
teeth
was
of piranha.
cool.
He was cool as fuck.
All of them had cool designs.
Yeah.
But he was still a kid. It's kind of like Shazam.
Yeah,
where he's
exactly.
like he's still a kid.
But he's this giant monster now. That's right.
My two were Upgrade and Gray Matter, like I said, and I liked Accelerate too.
Accelerate is always
Cannonbolt.
Cannonbolt's good.
One
I liked Wildvine when he came.
He was Austin's favorite.
Gigantosaur.
Yeah.
My favorite alien is E.T.
I don't think he can transform into. Well, he could technically if he existed in the Ben
And
10
Goku.
universe. Yeah, that's why they say Ben 10 could be
Technically,
Goku.
the Ninja Turtles too.
Ben 10 could beat Superman. Ben 10 could beat.
So, anyways, we're gonna get on with the picks. So we're gonna do our picks. I'll start with what I'm watching. I'm watching Scott Pilgrim. The Scott Pilgrim show, Scott Pilgrim Takes Off. For those of you who know me, I will keep this brief. I adore everything Scott Pilgrim, the movie, the comics, the game. It all speaks to me very personally, and that's all I'll say. It's got some really good stuff. There's a lot of heart that went into the show. I'm 5 episodes in.
Did you finish it?
I'm 5 episodes in, and there's 8 episodes. So the one I'm watching right now had a Nick Frost and Simon Pegg cameo, and that was the one I watched previously, and the one after that opened up with a Weird Al narration. It has punk music scattered all across it. Video game references, video game music, all different kinds of really good in-jokes for if you know the lore like I did. It has the entire cast from the movie, which is insane.
Yeah, that's
because
cool.
this was made before a lot of them were big names, and a lot of
Chris Evans.
yeah, they're all really big names now. And they all brought that back. They brought the creator of the comics. He's heavily involved in it. The guy who did all the music for the video game did the music for the show. It's a love letter, and I adore it. Everyone back.
Morgan's a big fan and said she'd go lesbian for what's her face,
Ramona.
Brie Larson.
Oh,
And the
Envy
one scene
Adams.
when she's singing in the one verse.
I think she plays a perfect bitch in that, so I can't stand her. But everybody knows my obsession, so Ramona Flowers. But the music I've been listening to this week, I've been listening to Misfits
Popeye
compilation.
soundtrack.
Oh, I like
What?
Popeye.
Is that a Popeye soundtrack?
I listen to that every now and then.
Yeah,
Throw on some Popeye music. But I'm listening to Ice Nine because we're gonna go see them this week.
Yep.
So yeah,
Much hype. It's gonna be a great show.
Yeah,
Yeah.
fantastic show.
Kind of hoping Ice Nine closes out the night.
I really hope.
Because like this is a co-headlining tour between Ice Nine Kills and In This Moment. I mean, I love In This Moment. They put on I'm kind of excited to see them again because
I've never
when
seen
we
them.
saw them, we kind of caught them at like a wrong time of the day because they were at this festival and like they were playing as the sun was going down.
Yeah.
So like they have a very dark and very theatrical stage show
With a lot of smoke and
a lot of
dark
smoke
lights.
and stuff.
Yeah.
And like as the sun was going down, it was shining like on the
Oh.
stage, like as they were playing.
So
So I'm kind of
see.
excited to see them again.
Yeah.
I haven't seen any of the bands that are gonna be there.
Avatar's a lot of fun. They're another very
Fantastic.
theatrical band.
And we haven't seen New Year's Day since they were like brand new.
Yeah, we
at,
saw
Rock
them. We saw them
Allegiance.
at Rock Allegiance when they were like just making it.
Very small.
You know?
Yeah,
Same with Greta
yeah.
Van Fleet and everything back then.
But what I think is really funny, really not just really cool, but really weird and ironic too, the fact that we're seeing Ice Nine Kills the night before Thanksgiving. The first time we saw them, it was the night before Thanksgiving 2018, and they were only the second band to play.
Yeah.
And now they're headlining,
Yeah.
which is really
The
fucking
same
cool.
week that
We'll get to see them evolve.
not long after a horror movie called Thanksgiving comes out, we're seeing Ice
Exactly.
Night.
Which we all need to.
we all
Yeah,
need
we
to check out.
We need to
Yeah.
watch it at some point.
Maybe next Sunday. Or wait, you said you're doing busy stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So there's not going to be a podcast real quick.
Yeah,
Quick.
we're gonna
We take the week off for the holiday. I'm going to a toy show that morning, so I go to toy shows really early, and like I said, it's retail. We work retail,
Yeah.
so I mean, Black Friday isn't as big as it was, but I mean, it's still Black Friday, and I'm in toys, so
Yeah.
I'm gonna be a little
And
tired.
I'm in electronics.
Right, so we're gonna be a little tired.
Yeah.
But what do you guys think about coming back with our 5 Christmas movies since it'll be
I
December?
That works.
was gonna.
That
Yep,
works. That'll
that's
be
gonna.
done.
Yeah,
Alright.
I didn't know if you guys wanted to close out the month like before Christmas doing that.
No, I think
Yeah, we
since,
can
since
do
we'll,
that.
we'll take the week off, yeah. come
because
back
that's
with
when the Christmas season starts,
Yep.
and they're always playing, so it'll be fun to do that.
Right.
So
But yeah, should be that's gonna be a fun show.
Yeah.
ready to hear me and Brody talk about Christmas Story for a good 3 hours.
Yeah, definitely.
Oh.
But my picks for the week, I've been watching a lot of Nick Nocturnal stuff.
Yeah.
I discovered him probably like I don't know about a year ago probably might have been a year ago, but I mean he does reactions to stuff. He does original content too. Like he started out like doing covers of like other songs. But he's just grown into like this like reactor, and he does a lot of like meme stuff, which is really like some of the meme stuff he does is really funny.
Yeah, reaction
Right.
content's huge right now.
But
So.
like, and like he's the guy I go to for like anything modern metal,
Yeah.
because like that's like his favorite thing is anything that's modern metal.
And he does some collabs with cool shit.
Yeah,
like
yeah.
Alex
like,
Terrible.
I mean, he does these things where like he'll do little shorts like how to ice 9 kills in 30 seconds,
Right.
or how to Pantera in 30 seconds.
He did that with Korn.
Yeah,
And the Beatles too.
yeah, and like he'll do those little shorts, and then they'll go viral, and everyone says like, oh, you got to do this song, you got to make this song, you got to make this short into an actual
Yeah,
song.
I mean that's a good way to keep content
And,
going.
it's just really cool because he gets like guest vocalists. Like he did like I think it was like a doom song with Alex Terrible from Slaughter to Prevail, and then he actually did a cover of Demolisher by Slaughter to Prevail with Will Ramos from
Lorna Shore.
from Ice 9 Kills.
Oh,
From Ice 9 Kills.
From Lorna Shore.
You guys hurry up with your picks. I forgot to do the Facebook post. We have the
Okay.
Facebook post.
But,
So you guys go
he's,
through it.
He's good stuff, and as far as listening to stuff goes, I mean, I've been listening to the bands we're going to see and all that good stuff.
I don't want to run out of space.
I'm also actually currently listening to Rush's album Counterparts,
Hey, good
which is
shit.
pretty good. It's one of the lesser known albums just because that's when they went into their like 90s alternative like grunge phase. But yeah, it's pretty good. And like I said earlier, I'm in the middle of Full Gear right now, so I'll have a proper review of it next time we come on. But yeah,
And then I watched Green Room, which I hadn't seen.
that's an A24.
Oh,
film,
we
isn't
watched
it?
Skinamarink last week too.
Yeah.
That was
Oh,
really
yeah.
good.
But Green Room, did you see that?
No, I have it in an A24 horror collection. Though,
Do you know what
at
it's
the
about?
house. Not really. I just
So-
know Patrick Stewart's in it.
It's about a group of people who go to see a punk thrash band at a show.
Oh, really?
And they end up getting trapped there because it's this band that's playing there, and they're basically saying like fuck Nazis and stuff because they're this punk band,
Right.
and it's a bunch of white supremacists that come
No
to the show.
shit.
So they end up getting locked in a room, and these guys are trying to kill them and stuff
Huh.
like that. And they call the police, and then the white supremacists are able to get the police off. There's some good gore where they're trying to escape.
Nice.
It's definitely an interesting
A24, I mean, in my opinion, always usually
hit or miss.
hits. I mean, for me, they always hit it out of the park with horror, I think.
And then I wanted
What's
to
your
talk to you.
music picks?
I wanted to say, Seth, I wanted to know if you heard about this. Bad Luck 13 Riot Extravaganza.
No.
Bad Luck 13 Riot Extravaganza is a punk thrashy band from
Ooh.
Philadelphia. And they're gigantic deathmatch wrestling fans. And they've been crowned
They're called
13
what?
Riot Extravaganza.
Bad Luck 13 Riot Extravaganza. I can't say them. I haven't listened to a bunch of their stuff. I've only got a couple songs, and it's very alright, but the lore behind it.
Oh, you played a little bit for me.
The
You played a little bit for me.
the lore behind this, they've been crowned to have the most brutal crowds in history.
Oh, really?
They're deathmatch wrestling fans, so they get on stage and they bust each other with light tubes.
They've been
And
around for a while.
and they hit
Wow.
and they hit each other with barbed wire chairs, and they.
Wow, how have I not?
But they've also done shit like
Oh, thanks, YouTube. You just spoiled a big part of Rick and Morty for the next season.
But they got some wild stories. They've cut off pig heads and thrown them into the crowds.
No shit.
They tore up bleachers where there were a bunch of people on. They flipped a bunch of bleachers. They would throw out the barbed wire and stuff into the crowd and have it in the pit.
Mm-hmm.
It's insane. It was fun to read the lore behind them. Apparently they were at Hellfest 04 and then they got banned from an entire country or something.
Oh my god.
um,
So I'm gonna get into the.
yeah, but
Okay.
definitely check that out. Or if you're into that kind of stuff. The lore is fun. Research. Yeah.
So the post actually said, does Toonami count? I said we avoided it, and she said she loves Animaniacs, and I love Animaniacs as
That was
well.
Cartoon Network.
I was all over the
WB.
place. Yeah. I think I even remember watching it on Nickelodeon at one point, but I'm
Let's
probably...
see.
Yeah, that doesn't sound right. But Rye said Courage the Cowardly Dog was number 1, but I could never not mention Samurai Jack, Foster's Home, Chowder, Kids Next Door.
Samurai Jack is something I got into later.
Batman Beyond, What's New Scooby-Doo, and then, of course, anything from Toonami.
I almost
and
put
Adult
Mystery
Swim.
Incorporated on my list.
Yeah, like I said, I could just be a different thing in itself. Favorite Scooby-Doo stuff. Antonio said Ed, Edd and Eddy. Nikki said Dexter's Lab, Grim Adventures of Billy and Mandy, and for Brody, Time Squad.
Dude,
We both love Time Squad.
So underrated.
So underrated. Tommy said, if you don't say Courage the Cowardly Dog, do you even have a childhood? Trey said Codename Kids Next Door, and then posted a GIF that says the gang, and it's them walking down a hallway.
Nice.
Gary Beamer said Code Lyoko always gets looked over. Yeah. I'm sorry. Gary, I love you, but I don't like it, Code Lyoko. And it's funny because later it gets... Later on this post, it gets brought up again, and it's funny. Richard said Space Ghost, Jetsons, Dexter's Lab, Powerpuff Girls, Pup Named Scooby-Doo, and Johnny Bravo. Angie said Foster's Home, Dexter, Johnny Bravo, and Powerpuff Girls. Chuck said Cow and Chicken. It had a top-tier intro theme. Sheep in the Big City, Mike, Lou, and Og as well.
Sheep in the Big City. Why does that become a meme with us?
Colt said Space Ghost Coast to Coast, Cow and Chicken, Dexter's Lab, Ed, Edd and Eddy, Courage, Grim Adventures, Foster's Home, and Camp Laszlo.
Camp Laszlo.
Camp Laszlo's a good one. That's a good one.
I liked that one. Eric doesn't like that show.
It's time for Camp Laszlo.
Rose said Cow and Chicken. Sherry said if we're not counting any of the late night anime, which was Yu Yu Hakusho and Inuyasha, which were the best, I would have to say Powerpuff Girls and Johnny Bravo were my faves. Again, in Adult Swim and anime could be its own stuff. Steph said Billy and Mandy would definitely be my favorite, but that and the Powerpuff Girls are so freaking rewatchable. I agree. Devin said Samurai Jack, Ed, Edd and Eddy, Billy and Mandy, K&D, Johnny Bravo, Foster's Home, Dexter's Lab, Courage, the Jetsons. A lot of Jetsons fans on this. Scooby-Doo and Camp Laszlo. Tara said Courage, Teen Titans, the OG Teen Titans. James, this is the one that made me laugh. Would say Code Lyoko, but you hate that show. Ed, Edd and Eddy, Powerpuff Girls, especially with him, creepy shit. And then Paige said Foster's was a go-to for me, but I also watched Grimm, Evil Con Carne, Codename Totally Spies, and Flapjack.
Totally Spies.
Yeah. That's rewatch that as an adult and tell me what you think. But yeah, thanks for commenting, guys. Squeeze it right here at the end. I definitely would like to talk about Toonami and Adult Swim and all that and Hanna-Barbera eventually at some point. But again, I have to be courteous of my co-hosts here. Brody doesn't watch a lot of anime. They're picky with anime, right? You'd say, yeah, it depends.
Toonami.
Toonami.
It's just something I didn't. I didn't grow up watching.
That's why we don't.
I just think anime is like one of those things you kind of have to grow up.
You absolutely do. But you can get into it now. But I understand. And
2 weeks.
Video
Christmas,
games too.
2 weeks Christmas movies.
Yep. Tune in for that.
We're gonna take off next week for the holiday.
Yep. So everybody have a safe and happy Thanksgiving or a holiday or have a happy Thursday, whatever.
Eat lots of stuffing and mashed potatoes because that's the two best things about Thanksgiving.
And pie. But love you guys. Take care. Be safe.